This is Marilyn Lundberg, and this is my very first video for YouTube. I've written lots of books for Amazon and Audible, but I wanted to share this on YouTube because there's so many people out there that have been sexually abused, and I wanted to share some of the things that I've learned that have helped me throughout my life. When I was a little girl, I was born into a home that my mom was paranoid schizophrenic, and my dad was a pedophile. And for the first 10 years, I didn't remember the abuse at all. But it came back to me when I was 40 years old. And through my whole life, I carried all these different after effects. I was anxious and depressed, suicidal. I had these horrible nightmares every night where things would chase me and eat me, and every night, every morning I would wake up and I was depressed and exhausted because my sleep was so poor. There's a list of almost 100 different after effects, and in going through that list, I had about 70 of those. And it all started to make sense why I always felt so lost and different from everybody else in the world. And in doing so, I was able to look and see when all these different after effects started and understand the whole process of what happened to my body. Oh, and this is Jagger. Jagger is my service dog, although pretty much I do everything without him now. He's just my lovable sweetheart, and I was gonna groom him today, and I thought, well, why not start a video? Jagger is 11 years old, and I wrote a book about him. It's called Jagger's Eyes. And when I got him, he shook so bad when he looked in my eyes. And I have a tremor. I shake too. I have had this since I was 20 years old. And I just knew that this dog was for me. He used to be a show dog up in Canada, and then he was sold to a breeder in Oklahoma. And he went sterile, and so she had no need for him anymore. And as a little girl, I always watched the show Lassie. And I thought, if I had a dog like Lassie, he could save me from all my troubles and everything that was wrong with me. And so when I was in my 60s, I found Jagger, and he's been the perfect dog. And I've got 3 other dogs and 2 cats, and they're incredible as far as calming me, making me feel so good, so happy. Overall now, I'm fine. But I've gone through so much, and I want to share this with you. Where do I go from here? As a little girl, I always watched around me, and I looked at all the other kids, and they were having so much fun. They were playing and happy and joyful, and I was terrified. I was just afraid something was going to jump out at me, grab me, hurt me. And that was all due to the abuse that I forgot every night. But my childhood was different from everyone else's. And that was hard. I was terrified of going to school because then I was trapped in a classroom at a desk. I couldn't leave. My school was across the street from my home. And when I looked out the window, I could see my house, and I just wanted to be there so bad. But I was stuck there. Because of the abuse, I got post-traumatic stress disorder at a very, very young age. And so I was always in the fight or flight response. If someone came up from behind me and startled me, it just was so difficult. I always wanted to sit in the back row in the corner so I could see everybody in front of me. And just, if I could have dug a hole and went underneath my desk, I would have done that because I was terrified all the time. The only time that was good was Friday night and school was done. But by Saturday, I was already getting scared again, and by Sunday, I was sick. Just so not looking forward to Monday morning. My stomach was always sick. I was a very shy girl, and if someone looked at me, if a teacher looked at me, I would blush. And with my blonde hair and my bright red face and the red part in my hair and red ears, I had crooked teeth. I just wanted to disappear. I didn't want to be with all the other people. All I wanted to do was to be with animals. I had a kitten at home that had wandered into my yard, and my parents let me keep her. Her name was Tiger. And every night after school, I would go in the garage and I would just hold her. And she would comfort me and lick me and meow and talk to me. It's hard to be a little kid with PTSD. It's hard to be a little kid with a psychotic mother and a father that doesn't act appropriately towards his only little girl. I was an only child. I pretty much was very, very ill until I was 40. And I found a really good counselor that helped put everything in perspective. My whole life, I had just yearned for a doctor that would show me what was wrong and help me out of the crisis I was in. And his name was Dr. John Nash. I saw him every week for 2 years. For 1 year, it was with other women who also had panic attacks and agoraphobia and all the things I had. And that helped a lot because I learned so many things. And then the second year is when the memories started to come. I remembered the abuse. But I saw it from the corner of the bedroom ceiling. I saw myself being abused, but I was at a safe distance, and that helped. I was able to know so much. And by then, I was a Christian, and I asked God to go with me and just hold my hand. And he did. I don't think about these things very much because I can go back to that moment in a flash, and I choose not to do that. But I will do that for people who are suffering from sexual abuse, specifically childhood sexual abuse, because there is a way out. When I began turning to God and saying, "You're the one that's going to heal me, not a doctor," miracles started to happen. On one of my videos, I'm going to talk about the suicidal thoughts that began in the 7th grade and went all the way up to when I was 40 years old. And that was an awesome miracle, because on the day that I said, God, if you will give me one good doctor that'll make a change, that'll help me, I will dedicate my life to you forever. And it was at that moment in time, in my living room, that the suicidal voices all stopped. And they had been with me every day since the 7th grade. This voice would tell me, drive your car into an oncoming vehicle. Drive your car off the road into that tree. Take a whole bunch of pills. Just swallow it. The pain will end. Every single day, this voice would tell me that. And on one of my videos, I'll explain that season of my life more clearly. But just know that there is a way out of this. Once you understand and you walk through the pain, and with me, I wrote about it. I wrote my first book, Identifying and Healing Childhood Sexual Abuse. I poured myself out into that book for a year, and I cried every single day. But I released so much pain that I didn't even know that I still had, because I had been in counseling for quite a long time. And I thought there was only going to be one book. And now there's a total of 6, because there was so much more that kept coming to me. I started writing when I was 65. That was the soonest that I could look at this whole problem and write it down, because there was so much fear and anxiety and terror trying to do that. But it was the best thing I ever did. And then I turned all my books into Audible books, and I thought that'll be easy because they're already written. All I have to do is speak the words out. And I couldn't speak the words out because all of this information had been my secret my whole life. Except for a little bit that I had told Dr. Nash. Everything was a secret. And so in the Audible book in my closet, as I'm doing my books, I can't speak the words without sobbing. It took me many, many months to get through my first book, but it released so much pain that I had within me. Now I want to do a YouTube channel talking about it, because they say 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 guys were sexually abused by the time they were 18 years old. That's a lot of people. And a lot of people living with after effects that they don't even know is associated with sexual abuse. And the more you know and the more you understand, the more you'll heal. So I hope you come back for my next video, and we'll just do this together. Thank you. Bye-bye.